Hey guys, my name is Shai, and this is a pick a card reading focusing on a theme here about opening your new doorway. There's a lot to this. This is a much bigger package of energy than I can really describe. Okay, this is a very big moment here. So, there is a doorway that you have been dreaming about for most of your life, for a long time. And perhaps it has always seemed like this doorway has been closed to you. You've been seeing the closed doors, or perhaps you never even wanted to go into that door. Perhaps it always seemed uninteresting to you, or it wasn't the door for you. But now is the moment where it is time for you to pick your door, open that door, and move yourself through that doorway, that gateway. And these doorways, these gateways, these gates, these portals, they are the reflection of a gate inside of your heart. They are the reflection of a portal or a doorway inside of your own heart. So moving into this doorway, moving through this portal, it's happening internally through the heart-centered work you are doing at this time. And it is reflected externally by some type of change, movement, some type of ushering, some type of flowing forward that you're going to be doing. The way this is playing out is, of course, different for everyone. There are some very different themes and sub-themes playing out within the different ways of grouping this, but that is the overall energy here. So I was assigned quite specifically by my guides to come and do a 3-card reading here to kind of separate out some of the different ways that we're moving through this. But I do have here 2 cards that wanted to come out as part of the overarching energy: Stormfields and Encouragement. Stormfields, encouragement. So on the one hand here, we have the storm, the tornado, right? We have the twister. This is the potentially for some, this is playing out as catalyst, right? As almost tower card energy, as things suddenly moving around you, catalyzing you to move, right? Catalyzing you to do something, catalyzing change in your life. For others, this storm fields is actually an energy you were kind of cooking up yourself, and you are grabbing the reins and you are charging forward with this chaotic energy. So it is actually up to you how much this energy of the storm, how much that is playing out externally in terms of catalyst, how much it is playing out internally in terms of your own charging forth, right? But that energy, one way or the other, it's there, and it's part of what's happening here. The other part is this energy of encouragement. And this word, encouragement, has an unusual amount of meaning for me this week because, so this is a timeless message for whatever year you receive this video, but I'm recording this on March 22nd, 2025, so 2 days after the Aries equinox. And this Aries season is particularly significant for those of us who are, those of you who are in my linear time, you're watching this when I post this, because we have a bunch of back and forth happening. The planets moving from Pisces to Aries and back to Pisces and then into Aries and back to Pisces and into Aries. There's this incredible amount of stitching happening over the horizon, this back and forth between the deep unconscious spiritual soup of Pisces and the very fiery, empowered, bold, courageous, self-assertive Aries energy. And it's this back and forth. And the way this has hit me personally was actually on the day of the equinox, I experienced an overwhelming sense of discouragement, right? Not encouragement, discouragement. I felt extremely discouraged in a way that was quite unusual and strange, I thought, for the Aries equinox. But that is part of what we're moving through here, because on the other side of the discouraging moment, right, which might come from these storm fields, that is on the other side of the doorway, right? So you're moving through the doorway. You are going to be going through this doorway, like it or not, come hell or high water, kicking or screaming. What is up to you to decide is how you move through this process, right? How you move through this process. And okay, I will leave that at that because I want to get into the different portals for everyone here. Of course, some of you are going to watch all three and find different layers of resonance, but here we go. I will see you in each individual reading. Okay, card number 1. Spirit of Place. The Spirit of Place. Very interesting. Look, we have these autumn leaves and this kind of elven looking woman. She has almost butterfly wings coming off and these elf ears. And she is very much, she almost looks like she's merged with this tree. Very, very interesting. Okay, I do want to read you the blurb from the book. This is the Enchanted Map Oracle. Okay, I'm very drawn to this key with the lock here. I know this is a very popular deck. Lots of you probably own it yourselves. I actually just got it now. All this time, I have just got this deck now. So I want to read this. What is this message? Authenticity is the essence of power. Well, I love that message because you guys know how much I talk about authenticity. So, our ancient ancestors believed that every place has a spirit looking after it or embodying it. Just as we have a soul, the plants, trees, birds, mountains, and rivers have their own essences. When the spirit of place arrives in your reading, it says that the answer to your query is in the overarching theme of your circumstances. Is your question about a struggle? The answer is to relax and let go of your need to control the situation. If your inquiry relates to finding love, then embody love rather than longing for it. Once you find the essential truth that underlies your question and then name it, you'll discover the answer you've been seeking. Your greatest power is your authenticity. Your greatest power is your authenticity. I feel like there's a message here about your relationship to place or space or both. Place and space, you can really play around with those concepts. Place being more mundane, being more like this place. It could be the place of your desk, your room, your house, your town, right? Your planet. Space being more, slightly more abstract, right? Really what I'm seeing here actually is someone looking around them, looking at matter around them, and then watching it all dissolve. Watching it all dissolve, like there's void energy underneath this. And that's always the sense that I have, is that I often get this impression that the physical reality is only like one molecule thick. And if I could just see or move beyond it, that's where the void is. That is the void energy. Reality is something that is populated around myself. I populate reality around myself. Just like in a video game, right? Just like in a video game where you load up into the game, and depending on the game, you might have to watch reality load up around you. So think about how reality actually populates or generates or loads up around you with you at the center. You are the center of your space. You are the center of your place. And there's something here also about, has that been true for you, or have you been living in someone else's space or someone else's place? So the relationship to place and the relationship to space here is significant. Seven of Swords. So underneath of all of this, there could be a feeling of duplicitous, deceptive, or thief-like energy. But I always like to emphasize that even though that may be the case, the higher frequency of the Seven of Swords is the breaking through that glass ceiling. It is you busting out and breaking through. It is actually breakthrough energy. But you may have to rely on the shifting of your mindset in order to accomplish this, because it's the swords energy, it's the air energy. So this is somehow related to your own mind and to the mindsets that you have adopted. Nine of Wands. So the tiredness, the fatigue, right? The feeling like this has been a long journey. Again, that is also the lower frequencies of the Nine of Wands. The higher frequencies of the Nine of Wands is under like the true and the deep understanding that life itself is a marathon, and the importance, not just the importance, but the magic of truly pacing yourself, okay? The magic of truly pacing yourself. How you can get more done, you can go farther, you can last longer, you can experience more, have more. Everything that you want can actually be attained by slowly moving, by slowly persisting. And that if you take the slow steps and take the slow road, truly embodying the energy of the tortoise, that is how you can drop out of that feeling of fatigue and that feeling of the eternal struggle. I see this energy come up a lot with Capricorn and Taurus energy, especially if that Capricorn or Taurus energy is being challenged in some way. Chiron in Taurus frequently feels this way, especially if there are other elements involved that really value speed and instant transformation. So like Gemini or Scorpio, right? Just to throw out some ideas there. You don't need to get too fixated on the astrology here, but my point is that, okay, long distance running is really the perfect metaphor here, because if you are wanting to run a very long distance, and the thing is, life is a marathon, right? Life is a long distance run. It is extremely important on a long distance run to not push yourself too hard. You shouldn't be exhausting yourself. You shouldn't be trying to run faster. When you're on a long run, you should actually be asking yourself, not how do I go faster, not how can I push myself to go faster. You should be asking yourself, can I go slower? Can I slow down, right? Can I slow down? Can I do this? Can I settle into my pace? Can I slow down and find my stride? Slowing down, pacing yourself, finding the stride that is sustainable for you, no matter how slow that might be compared to others, that is the key here, because the rehearsing of the energy of being exhausted and being fatigued, and that feeling of being forever just at the just barely trying to reach the finish line. Again, the shifting of the mindset can resolve this. So we have two energies here where the shifting of the mindset is what it can really make the difference for you here, okay? The shifting of your mindset can really make the difference for you here. And the Page of Pentacles, rediscovering that ability inside of yourself to begin again, right? Rediscovering that ability inside of yourself to begin again, but without the feeling of trauma, drama, exhaustion, why again, right? This time, right? If you want to be feeling like, I've got this, I can handle this, I'm totally going to take care of this, I'm going to go through this doorway and move myself into this new space, and I am really ready for this. I am ready for this to finally happen. How to get yourself into that type of headspace? It's the shifting of the mindset. Any mindset that you have, and I've recently gone through this. I just had something happen where I had a loss, right? I had a loss. I mean, it wasn't too serious, right? It wasn't too serious, but it was very upsetting, right? It was a very upsetting, not very serious, but kind of serious, but upsetting loss, right? The kind of thing that hit me right where it hurt. And I wanted to sit around in the Seven of Swords and the Nine of Wands energy, right? Like I felt like a victim. I felt like I'd made a mistake. I felt like I'd chosen the wrong thing. I felt like, and I mean quite literally, I had been lied to. I had been betrayed. There had been deception there. And I felt like Nine of Wands because of this. I felt exhausted. I felt fatigued. I felt like I just didn't have the energy to pick myself up and keep trying at this again, right? So I had to have one of those moments where I truly sat down with myself and was like, okay, I cannot persist with these mindsets, right? I cannot persist in this mindset. I must change my mindset because otherwise I cannot continue with this situation, right? And that was the key when I realized that I had to really, really want to change my mindset. I was ready because I had to really know and I had to really understand that my mindset was unsustainable. And if I wanted to get back to my happy, fulfilling, prosperous life, I had to change the mindset. It was like, because this was a mindset that was very stuck inside of me for a very long time. And I had to get to that point of being like, okay, my back is up against the wall. I can either continue to feel like this, or I can let go of the mindset that is keeping me there. So the reason I'm emphasizing this is because I'm assuming for some, this is going to be really resonating where you've had this stuck mindset. And it doesn't mean that the physical things weren't happening, right? Yes, you might be exhausted, and yes, there might be deceit and betrayal. All of that can be true and very real and very hurtful. But what is keeping you in the struggle and the feeling of being betrayed and the grief over the betrayal and the deception and the feeling of exhaustion and fatigue and they can't move forward, the only thing that you have control over is the mindset, right? So when you are ready, when you can sit down and look inside of yourself and say, okay, I am really, truly ready. I am finally ready to change this mindset because it is the only practical thing I can do, because it must change, because I am ready to not feel like this anymore. I am ready to move forward in a new way with a new mindset where I no longer hang on to these feelings of deceit, betrayal, frustration, fatigue, right? When you are really ready to let that mindset go, then it will go, right? Then it will go. You can do whatever mental gymnastics you need to see it from a different perspective, see it from a higher perspective, right? All of those things can help you. So do whatever you need to do in order to shift that mindset, right? Do whatever you need to do to shift that mindset. And I could go on and on and on a very long lecture about the new mindset that you could adopt here. But I think this new mindset for you, it will work a lot better for you if you actually create the new mindset for yourself. You need to define the new mindset that replaces the old Seven of Swords and Nine of Wands mindset. You need the new mindset. And when you author this mindset for yourself, that is when it will truly work for you. Because perhaps you've tried shifting your mindset before, But, as we do, we go online and we talk to our friends and we get a mindset from others. And that mindset might almost fit. It might almost work. It might have a lot of things that you appreciate inside of it. And yet it will never be the exactly right fit because you did not author it for yourself. So for you guys, it is in authoring this new mindset. It is in authoring the new mindset that will replace the old mindset that is going to get you to where you want to go and through this doorway and without these feelings of the fatigue and the betrayal, right? Author the new mindset. This might take some very creative writing, right? It might take some very creative writing, but you have all of the ingredients that you need because you have been collecting. You have been observing how other people change their mindset. You have been observing the higher perspective, right? You have been learning and watching and collecting, and you have all of the ingredients that you need to create this brand new mindset for yourself. And now you are ready to create the mindset for yourself. And that's why it's going to work this time, because you are going to make the rules for yourself. You are going to define your new mindset for your own self. And that means it's going to be the perfect fit. And that means it's going to be the perfect antidote to the old mindset that was dragging you down. And then you will be ready to begin again. And even if you've been in this spot before, even if this is a challenge that you're very sick of having to go through, what if this is the last squeeze of the ketchup bottle, especially like a glass ketchup bottle you might see at restaurants. And you're like trying to get the last bit of the ketchup out, okay? The last bit of the ketchup out. What if this is that for you? What if this thing that you're going through is getting that last bit of the ketchup out of the bottle? And then you're going to have a nice, clean, clear new bottle to fill up anew. So it's like you had to get all the old ketchup out because it was nasty old ketchup. That's the old mindset leaving you. And now you're going to have a nice, clean, clear ketchup bottle that you can wash out, rinse out, and fill up. And the ketchup bottle is your vessel, right? The ketchup bottle is the metaphor for your vessel here. And now that your ketchup bottle or your vessel is going to be clean and clear of the old mindset, and you are self-authoring a new mindset that will be tailored perfectly for you, you're going to be able to fill up your vessel with brand new light. And then you're going to be able to move forward with brand new eyes, a brand new mindset into a brand new world, a brand new place with a brand new space, with a brand new inner space. So, yes, it might take a hard moment of sitting down with yourself and really realizing that you are ready to adopt a brand new mindset, truly. And it might take you a few days to really feel into and author that new mindset for yourself. But this is happening for you, right? This is happening for you because you are finally ready. And this is actually how the universe will bring you to what you have been asking for. Okay, so that was for reading number 1. Let me clear this out and move on to reading number 2. Field of Dreams, number 21. We have some fairies sitting on these enormous eggs. Field of Dreams. We even have some shooting stars or some fairy dust here. What really makes me wonder is what dreams are inside of these eggs. Okay, what dreams are inside of the eggs? What dreams are inside of the eggs? What are you hatching inside of yourself? Celebration. Here we have a very beautiful couple. Get ready to let your hair down and celebrate. It is a time to go out to dance and play. An invitation could be on the way. This to me, ooh, shivers on this one, shivers on this one. Something you've been dreaming of. This is different energy from the first reading, which is nice. And if you're watching both, then you're moving from the first one into this one, right? All of this is available here. So, a dream you have been dreaming. Someone is aligning with you to help you with this. A friend, a romantic partner, a hookup even, if you have a sexual fantasy you've been wanting fulfilled, or a business partner, a new boss, a job opportunity, a financial opportunity, right? Somebody is aligning to help you with this. And if you watch the first reading, I talked about a difficult moment of having to sit down and kind of realize something about yourself, right? Same thing here, but quite a different theme. For you guys, this is about realizing that you can't do this part alone. You can't do this part alone. Maybe technically you could, right? That might sound like a funny thing for me to say, because if you listen to me talk long enough, you know I'm a big fan of independence and self-assertion and kind of doing what you need to do on your own, right? And that will always, and like authenticity and the self and building yourself up. That is still all absolutely true. But of course, that is not the be-all, end-all of what is to be experienced. There are things in life that cannot be fully experienced or fully accomplished or fully created in total isolation, right? Some things are best experienced with others. Some goals are best accomplished in partnership. Some dreams can only fully come to fruition when the whole network gets on board, right? Some things need to be experienced with others. And so you can feel into this, right? Is it a romantic partnership you're looking for? Is it a friendship you're looking for? If your dreams lead in that direction, then that is what this is about for you. But I do feel like there is a significant chunk of you where this is some type of bigger dream that you have, a bigger dream, perhaps a career goal, perhaps a creative project, right? Think about a musician who, like, you can't be a one-man symphony, right? You can't be a one-man orchestra. It's impossible. I mean, perhaps you could play every single instrument and you could record every single instrument independently and then splice, put them all together. But you can't put on a performance by yourself with 65 instruments. You can't play them all at once. And if you want to have the full experience of the orchestra playing the concert hall, that simply needs to be done as a group. It needs to be done as a team, right? So again, coming back to that realization for you guys, it is about sitting down with yourself and realizing that this dream, especially the most beautiful manifestation of this dream, the highest potential of it, are you ready to reach out to meet the people who will co-create this with you? It could be one person, it could be a group, right? Depending on what this is. And again, the magic happens, the energy work happens when you take that 5 to 10 minutes to sit down and really acknowledge that and really feel that and really release that sense of, I am ready for this partnership. I am ready for this assistance. I am ready for this help. I am ready for this magical alignment of coming together in co-creation with others. I am ready for this. And I do feel a little bit of hesitancy here from some. And And for good reason, right? There are lots of reasons why you might prefer to work alone or to go it alone, to fly solo, right? There's lots of good reasons for that. That's why it is this realization that you have to team up with someone here. That is the shift that moves you through that doorway, right? Moving through that doorway. How do you open that doorway? How do you enter that world? How do you get to that dream? Because the dream is on the other side of that doorway. You need to enter that new world. And to do that, you do this in partnership. There is someone who is meant to help you with this, right? There's someone who is meant to help you with this. Purpose, clarity of the truth, right? Clarity of the truth with your purpose. So this is not a no reason connection, okay? This is not a no reason connection. And especially that feels significant here. So if somebody, have you ever filled up your, like, how to put this? I just have the impression here that somebody might have filled up their life with kind of almost like meaningless connections, or maybe not meaningless, but maybe purposeless, lacking in purpose, right? Connections that lacked a clear purpose. So relationships where maybe you found each other's like company to be pleasant, but there was no real reason for you to be together. It wasn't clear why you were together. Same thing with being at a job. If you're not at that job for like a clear purpose, it leads to this feeling of kind of floundering and aimlessness and just kind of purposelessness, right? And business partnerships that just nothing ever quite works out. You know, that feeling where people just kind of keep you at arm's length, where people seem to be pleasant to you, people seem to be friendly, and everything seems fine, but nothing's really clicking, nothing's really moving forward, nothing's really getting done, nothing's happening. It's because there wasn't really a deeper purpose to that connection. And I don't want to say it was purposeless, because there's always some purpose there, but really, it is time for you to align with someone where that connection has a much deeper purpose. And this purpose runs in the physical, where this connection, this partnership, whether it's romantic, friendship, or even a family connection, or business, right? There is a much deeper purpose here where it's like a vehicle. This partnership, this connection is meant to be a vehicle to deliver the goods or to get you to where you want to go. And there is a physical, material purpose to it, but there is also like the deep soul connection. Like this is like soul contract stuff. Like you are meant to come together for this. And I looked up at 3303, 333. So these are the types of connections that have a lot of power and a lot of like staying power, right? They have legs, as they say. They will run and run because there is purpose to this connection. And again, I feel like maybe this is only a couple people. I don't want to make this sound like everyone is going to relate to this part, but have you ever filled up your life with people or connections that are kind of the equivalent of like junk food, like social junk food? And again, I don't mean that these people are bad. There's not necessarily anything wrong with them. They could be beautiful, wonderful, amazing people, but maybe you were just talking to them, exchanging energy with them, associating with them, and it was just like empty calories. They're just like, I don't know, there is this feeling of kind of empty or empty connections. And again, there's not necessarily anything wrong with those connections or those people. They could be perfect, wonderful, beautiful people, but there's just no spark, no energy there, right? There was nothing to keep that going. So that's what we're shifting out of here. And I feel like there does need to be a sense of purpose. So that's why focus on the dream, okay? What is your dream? What are you driving towards here? What is your big goal? And this could be like you want to get married. You want to meet the one. right? And maybe that even is hard for some people to say, because I know some people who deep down inside want a real marriage, right? They want to be married. They want to be an old married couple someday, and they want to have all of that stereotypical stuff about, like, a wonderful marriage, right? But some people I've noticed struggle to say that, because they say, oh, marriage is just a legal fiction, and it's a symptom of the patriarchy, and it's this and that, and all of those things. There's reasons to say that, and I could even get on board with a lot of those statements, right? However, if this leads you to just go, okay, well, in that case, I will, I actually just want a committed partnership, and I'll be happy if, we just decide that we're just going to live together, and that'll be good. And all of this, like, there's nothing wrong with any of that. Like, there's no real reason to get married or not be married. All of that is just to your preference, right? My point here, using this example, is deep, 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 deep down inside, if what you truly desire is to be married, both legally and spiritually, and to have all of that comes along with a marriage, then don't settle for someone who just wants to water that down, right? Don't settle. This is about not settling. And that means, in order to not settle, and see, this hurts someone's heart. This is hurting in the heart, because you have to have the courage to actually admit what you want, to admit what you fully want. Don't bring your goal down just because it seems easier to attain. Because if what you want is a marriage, and what you're settling for is just a committed partnership, then that will never be what you want. Don't settle for something smaller or lower just because it seems easier to attain, because it'll mean that you'll never fully align with it. You can't align with the smaller thing because it's not actually what you want, so it will never work. And that might make you think, oh, if I can't have a committed partnership, how could I ever get married? But if you actually admit to yourself that what you want is actually to be married, even if being married seems cringy and cliche, and like, why would that matter? Because it's just a legal fiction. I mean, I could talk about the energetics of marriage all day, but perhaps that's another conversation, because my point isn't actually to say that one way is better than the other here. It's just to use this as an example. So you have to actually admit what you really want here. What is your actual dream? I could take this in another way and say, say if somebody wants to be a lawyer, right? So you want to be a lawyer, but you just feel like you can't afford law school. You don't know how you'll ever make it through. Maybe you feel like you're not smart enough. Maybe you think your grades aren't good enough, and it just seems too big. So you go, okay, I'll just settle, and I'll just go be a legal secretary instead. At least I'll still get to work in a law firm, right? But then you might find that maybe you can't even get a job as a legal secretary, because all these doors are just closing, and you're like, oh my goodness. Now that makes you think, wow, I never could have been a lawyer because I can't even make it as a legal secretary. And I don't mean to say that there's anything wrong with being a legal secretary. That could be that could be a fantastic job for someone, right? My point is here, I'm just using these examples because it's the lowering of your dream that actually makes anything hard to get, right? Because what if it is your destiny to be a lawyer, but you're not gunning for it, right? Instead, you tried to settle and you went small, and that actually made it impossible to get that because it wasn't your destiny to be a legal secretary. It was your destiny to be a lawyer. So you have to shoot big. You have to go big. This is like Sagittarius energy here, okay? You have to go big because, like, anybody have a Sagittarius North Node or a 9th house North Node here? You have to go big because going small will never work out for you. Will never work out for you because you're big energy, okay? You're big energy and you have a big dream. That means you need to go through the big hole, the big door. You'll never fit through the small door. So don't settle for the small door, because the only way to meet your dream is to go through the bigger door. So you have to go big on this one. You have to go big on this one. And I feel like that was basically the message for you guys, but I was shuffling this Isis deck, and this was at the bottom here. I want to show it to you. The rising sun. The divine solar child reborn. The divine solar child reborn. There is some powerful symbolism here, but I actually just want to invite you to just feel into this, because this will have personal meaning for each and every one of you. And really trust that meaning, okay? Trust that meaning, because some things, sometimes you receive a symbol or a message, or you see something happen, And it will have meaning to you that you will not ever be able to describe to someone else. Sometimes all you can say is, there is so much meaning here. And maybe you can't describe it even to yourself because it's just indescribable meaning. Indescribable meaning. I'm getting a lot of shivers on this one. So, what is your indescribable meaning here? Allow it to be indescribable and just feel it. Just feel it. So that was the reading for card reading number 2. And I will clear this out and move on for reading number 3. Okay, reading number 3. For some reason, before I even flip your card over, they want me to get you one of these cards from this Foxfire deck. So let's find out why. I'm hearing the eyes of the setting sun. The eyes of the setting sun. Card number 22 with immortality. Immortality. You are lifetimes long, seeker, and your soul has journeyed and traveled through skins and forms and elements, time and again. In this lifetime, you are being offered the wisdom of all that has gone before in order to continue the healing journey of your own soul. You are surrounded by the energy of the peach blossom tree, a great old tree that grows deep within the Kitsune realms, and those who reach it are small compared to its mighty branches. You are now climbing the tree of immortality, and as you climb, your soul is refining itself, becoming more pure, more wise, shedding all that once held you back. The tree of the immortals whispers to you that you are one of its children, that you are immortal, and that you will return to its branches again and again in the lifetimes to come. The tree of immortality knows that you are growing strong, and it will offer to you now some of its vast wisdom so that you can climb further into the journey of the soul. Know that you are being offered time here in this lifetime to complete your soul's task, to be surrounded by beauty and joy, and to have aspirations for your physical form. You are asked not to attempt to force some kind of inhuman perfection on yourself. Instead, the tree of immortality asks you to embrace yourself and to love yourself with patience and kindness, for with this love there will come a flowering of the soul, and the joy and peace which you seek will come to you in this energy of love. For now, though, child of the peach flowers, sit a while in the branches of the tree of immortality, the tree that has seen infinite ages, infinite changes. Watch the fruits of spirit grow and know you are seen, accepted, and loved by this wise and sentient God of the forest of the Kitsune. Residing in the tree of immortality, in the tree of immortality. Your roots going deep into the soil, so deep, deep, deep into the soil. Even your roots transcending or subscending. What is transcending but down? Your roots penetrate deep into the earth, into the substrate of the earth, below the earth's crust, down into the inner spheres of the earth, into the crystalline waters that illuminate the inner spheres of the earth, and then again through the heart of the earth out into the void. Your roots actually penetrate down through the Earth Star Chakra, through the heart of the earth, through to the void itself. You're rooted into the void. And then in the upper levels, your branches reaching out into the sky, reaching up into the stratosphere, reaching beyond the outer spheres of this earth, up into the higher realms, your branches with your fingers and your tendrils and your buds and your blossoms and your leaves and the birds that live in your branches and the bees that pollinate your flowers, reaching up and up and up, transcending the material realms into the white light, into the white light, into the clear light. Magical map shifter. Wow. Okay. Magical map shifter. The shifter of the map. You feel how profound that is? The shifter of the map. Like I was saying, I just got this deck now, the Enchanted Map Oracle, the Key and the Lock. This feels like the ultimate card in the deck. I don't even know if it is or not. Some of you will know. Some of you will be familiar with this card. Magical Map Shifter. But I'm going to give you my completely fresh, never seen this card before, never read its blurb interpretation here, using it as a jumping point. Look how, what I love here is I think she has a compass. Yes, if I look really, yes, that is a compass. When I first looked at it, I thought it was a clock, right? I thought it was a watch. Very interesting, very, very interesting if you think about, if you compare a watch and a clock, or I'm sorry, if you compare a clock and a compass, think of all of the similarities, right? They're round, they have hands that go around and around. The clock tells you the time, the compass tells you the direction. The compass tells you the direction. I feel like there is a message here about, have you been paying more attention to the clock? And if you have been paying more attention to the clock than to the compass, what would it be like to pay more attention to the compass, to your inner compass? Think about the difference, right? You can really run with this analogy here. You're watching the clock is ticking, you're hearing the clock ticking, you're always thinking about time is passing, the clock is ticking. Sometimes the clock is ticking too fast, sometimes the time is passing so slowly you feel like you are trapped in timeless space for way too long, and that feeling of being stuck. Always the clock tortures you, you know? Always the clock is causing anguish of one variety or the other. But what happens when you look at the compass and forget about the clock, right? What happens when you forget about the clock? And you think only of the compass. The compass points north, right? Or it points south if you're in the southern hemisphere, right? It points to where the magnet is, to where the magnetism is. Interesting thing about the compass, though, is if you're in the northern hemisphere and your compass is pointing north, does that mean that is where you need to go? That's not how you use a compass, is it? Unless you're trying to go to the North Pole, you don't just follow the pointing of that arrow on the compass, right? You use the compass to get your bearings. You use the magnetism to show you the map, right? You go, okay, that way is north. Now I know where I am. All I needed to know was where north is. Do I want to go north or do I want to go south? Do I want to go west? Do I want to go southeast? Which way do you go now that you know where north is? So the thing about following your North Star is that unless you want to go north, you don't actually follow the North Star. You use it as a reference point, right? You use it as a reference point. So anyway, the magical map shifter. What is it that you are shifting about your map? What is it that you are shifting about your map? What do you want to shift about your map? Do you want to make an entirely new map? You are the cartographer. You are the cartographer. In the first reading, I talked about authoring a new mindset, right? Authoring a new mindset. This one, it would be make a new map. Be the cartographer, be the map maker, right? You are your own cartographer. Hold your vision fixed moon. That is so much like letting your compass point north, right? That is the fixed point. That is the fixed point. So this is interesting. You can really run with this analogy, as I've said, but it's so true. What is your fixed point? What is your fixed vision? This, again, for those of you who watched all three, the second reading was about having the big dream, having the big goal. So that might be relevant here. Is that dream your North Star? Is that dream your true north, right? Is that your fixed point? Is that your fixed point? You may need to wend your way, right? You may need to wend your way around obstacles, because even if your compass points north, and even if you are going to the North Pole and you're going to walk exactly north, you probably can't go straight there. You must wend your way, right? You must wend your way, because there are obstacles on the path and there are detours, and you need to sleep, right? Oh, and this is even like, what did I say before? I think before I even started any of the readings, or maybe it was in the first reading again, something about the reality, space, place, the map. The map generates around you. The map spawns. It is created. It populates around you. Magical map shifter. Surrender to the divine. Take time to breathe out. And your commitment is being tested. These are, I'm not going to dig into those deeply. Those are the kind of messages that we are all familiar with, but they are good reminders. Make a new map. Be the cartographer. That is the biggest message here. It is hard to articulate what that means, right? But I think you can feel what that means. What does it mean to be the cartographer? I love that word. Cartographer, it's a great word. Be the cartographer. Long night moon with darkness. We have this rabbit on the path. It's like a dark full moon, very interesting. This tree. There is a feeling of blankness here. There is a bit of a feeling of emptiness, of uncertainty. Almost as if the map has been blanked out or the map has been burned. What if this is not a bad thing? Okay, protection. What if something burned down because you were being protected from it, because it was not meant for you? What if it was not even supposed to be your problem? What if that was never supposed to be your problem? Sovereignty with the Queen of the Moon. The Queen of the Moon. Really beautiful sacred geometry here. Okay. This is one of those moments in a reading that I experience every once in a while where I feel like I could keep drawing cards, but this feeling arises where I start to understand that what I'm looking for will never be found in the cards. Sometimes there's a message that wants to come through. There's some energy that wants to be read. There is something that I am meant to understand, but I can't get it from the cards. Normally, the cards are of great help to me in my channeling. But every once in a while, a moment like now arises where I have to realize it. Well, I could sit here and draw cards all day, and I would only increase my own confusion. I would only increase my own confusion. And so this is part of the message for you as well. If you are asking around for advice, if you are drawing cards or doing your form of divination for guidance, if you are asking your guides for the answer, if you are doing research to try and find the solution, if you are crunching the numbers, trying to find what will make sense, all of these things that we do, these are all ways of trying to find the idea, trying to find that inspiration, that message, that guidance, that answer. We're looking for the answer everywhere. And what if what if in this particular case, it is not meant to come from these outer resources, right? This happens once in a while, and this is because this is about you restoring yourself to your sovereignty. So part of what you're experiencing here, and I mean, you can draw cards all day until you're throwing your cards across the room in frustration, which I've been there. It's okay. You can ask other people for their advice and their opinions and their help all day until you realize that it's only making you feel worse, right? You can research and research and research and look for the solution until you realize that none of those solutions are going to really work for you. So if you must, you can do those things until you exhaust yourself, or you can put all of those strategies down right now and take a step back. And I feel like these are the only two pieces of energy you really need here: sovereignty and magical map shifter. What do these mean for you, right? What do these mean for you? You have the ability here to change your circumstances, to change your map, to make the new map. And moving forward, it is about moving forward from that place of sovereignty, right? Moving forward from that place of sovereignty. And what everyone's going through here is something different. It's something different, but it's the feeling, okay? The feeling inside of yourself that is going to make the difference. The feeling here is one of there is a feeling that I have been looking for my whole life, and I have jumped through hoops, and I have tried this and tried that to try and create that feeling using external circumstances. And it never works. It never works. Now is the time for me to crystallize this feeling inside of myself, because I need to have the feeling in order to create the circumstances. You see the difference there? This is one of those moments where we have to sit down with ourselves and realize I've been trying to manipulate myself with my environment. I've been trying to manipulate my feelings with my environment. I have actually made my feelings dependent on my environment. This is like trying to create a sense of security by trying to create a physically secure environment. Or this is like trying to create a sense of self-confidence and self-esteem by surrounding yourself with people or things, by energies that tell you you should be proud of yourself, that tell you you should be good, that you should feel good about yourself, or by trying to manipulate your appearance in order to allow yourself to have a healthy body image or something, right? All of this is now unsustainable. And this is good. This is good. This actually means that you have finally exhausted this. So I have a very concrete example here. It's kind of funny. So my husband watches that Formula One show on Netflix. and I've seen a few episodes while he's been watching it. And there's a funny theme with these Formula One drivers who are the world's best race car drivers, right? They are literally like the 24 greatest drivers who are alive on Earth at this time. They are the best of the best of the best of the best of the best. However, even among the best of the best of the best of the best of the best, there are still the top 2 or 3 who are leagues ahead of all of the others, right? And what happens with these elite human beings, right? These elite athletes, is that if they are not winning all of their races, they start blaming everything on the car, right? Because these cars are constructed by their team, right? It's a team sport, actually, F1, apparently, because the team builds, there's a whole team of people building the vehicle, and then the vehicle has to be driven by the driver, right? And the drivers who are not winning, they never think it is because of anything to do with them. They are all absolutely sure that there is something wrong with the car, right? They're always 100% sure it is something wrong with the car. They never can admit that it might be something that they are doing that is less than perfect, right? And again, these are all the world's greatest drivers. Even the worst Formula One driver is still one of the world's greatest drivers, right? So I don't mean to criticize these people. But if you watch that show, a funny thing happens where these drivers, because sometimes, of course, it is the vehicle, right? Sometimes there is a mechanical problem with the vehicle. Sometimes the vehicle is just not optimized properly. Sometimes it is a problem with the car, right? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. And you can watch these drivers go through this incredibly painful process. It might take years, where they inspect the car, they go through everything, they have to be proven. It has to be proven to them that this car is essentially working perfectly. They have to be utterly convinced that the car they are driving is perfect. And then they still have to lose one more time before they realize, oh, maybe it was me. Maybe it was me. And this is a very upsetting thing for them to go through, because they all want to be the best. Because in order to be an F1 driver, you really have to believe you are the best. That is the mindset that is required for that, to be able to compete at that kind of elite level, right? So, but it's always a little funny for me watching them, because I see them as being all so fantastically skilled, but then they have to realize that, oh, it wasn't the car, it was me all along. But they have to go through this exhaustive process before they can, before they're willing to look inside of themselves to see if the problem is actually them, right? So that is rather like an extreme example here. I just share that because it's, kind of illustrative. So I feel like we all have something like that, right? We all have something like that. That is, and this is not a failing on our part. This is not something we should feel bad about or beat ourselves up about, because it is like every single human on earth is like this to an extent, right? This is a perfectly normal and natural part of the human condition. So my point here is not to feel bad. In fact, my point is that this is normal. This is absolutely normal. It would be weird if you didn't have this, at least in some way, right? So what is this for you? What is this for you? What feeling have you always wanted to feel? Have you wanted to feel secure? Have you wanted to feel confident? Have you wanted to feel successful? Have you wanted to feel loved? Or have you wanted to feel loving? What is it that you want to feel? What is the feeling that you want to experience? And it's the one you have yet to experience, right? Because this feeling, you might think it lies on the other side of that doorway, but actually you use this feeling to go through the door. You might think, on the other side of that doorway, I can finally feel confident in myself. That's not, but I just need to do the thing that will finally make me confident, and then it will get me through the door. That's not it. It's when I finally decide to feel confident in myself, bam, now you're through the door. It is the finding the confidence that teleports you through the door. Or it is finding that feeling of security. Bam, that takes you through the door. And then on the other side of that door, whatever it is you're looking for, it is there because you've already found it inside of yourself. And then that is how you're updating the map, right? You update the map from your place of sovereignty. So if you're looking for confidence, now is the time where you are going to cultivate that sense of confidence inside of yourself instead of outside of yourself. And then bam, you're going to go through the door and you're going to update your map. You're going to be your own cartographer. And then you're going to find yourself in a world where your self-confidence is reflected back to you. That doesn't mean that you'll never again have a moment of self-doubt, because that would be weird if you didn't, right? But by and large, you will then be living in a reality where you mostly feel mostly confident most of the time in a nice, healthy, balanced way. You know what I mean? And if what you want is to feel secure, maybe even physical security, financial security, right? Security of resources, security of your space and your place and your home and your relationships, relationship security, whatever that is. If you want to feel secure, this is the moment where you cultivate that sense of security inside of yourself. And that word cultivation, that is the best word I can come up with here, because it is truly, you grow it inside of yourself. You cultivate it. You plant the seed of security or confidence and you water it and you nourish it with sunlight and you sprinkle it with Miracle Grow and you tend to it and you shelter it from the storm and you let it grow patiently inside of yourself. You cultivate it inside of yourself. You do whatever you need to do. And, even this whole thing about maybe you sometimes tried to get confidence or self-esteem or security from the outer world, even that wasn't a waste of time. Even that wasn't like a mistake. It wasn't a bad thing to do, because maybe the long struggle towards security and self-esteem and self-confidence, everything that you did in the outer world trying to build that up for yourself externally, that was part of your process here. That was how you were learning to do this. It's just that now, instead of trying to grow security, like grow it over there, right? Like outside of yourself, you're growing it inside of yourself. So you were actually learning how to do it. That's how reality was teaching you. So that's why I really want to emphasize, it's not like, sometimes I feel like this whole thing about, oh, you were doing it externally instead of internally. Sometimes I feel like that it gets a little fraught and it starts to sound like that's a really horrible thing and that was a big mistake. You were trying to get something from outside of yourself instead of inside of yourself. Well, no, there's a purpose to that as well. That is how you learn, right? You need to listen to other people speak before you can learn to speak. You need to read before you can learn to write, right? Sometimes we need to see these things externally and we might practice them externally and learn about them and explore them externally before we really grow them and cultivate them internally. So it's not a mistake, it's not wrong. It's just the final step, the missing piece of the puzzle. The moment that changes the map for you, the moment that changes everything for you, is when you really crystallize that inside of yourself, because that's what changes the map. And so how do you do this? Well, you're already doing it. I really feel like you're doing it. Your path has brought you to this. And there is nothing I could say in a reading that would make you do this, right? It's the process of your life that teaches you to do this. And so again, like I've been really emphasizing lately, if you want to help this along, just take a quiet moment with yourself, 5 or 10 minutes when you sit down and you go, okay, this time, right now, I accept this feeling inside of myself. I accept self-confidence. I accept security. I accept my ability to go out into the world and to assert myself the way I want to assert myself and to create what I want to create and to feel empowered, to feel myself and to give myself permission to live wild and free and exactly the way I want to. It's admitting that you are ready to feel that way and to ask the universe for help if you feel like you could use some help with that, right? Especially if you watched reading number 2, where there was an emphasis on aligning with someone to help you with this, to help you with a creation. So for some, this might be something you do in co-creation with others, but that co-creation with others, that you can only get to that alignment and to that co-creation with others when you have the energy stabilized inside of yourself, because that is when you are in a partnership where 1 + 1 doesn't just equal 2, or 1 + 1, two powerful beings standing in sovereignty next to each other. That is when 1 + 1 actually equals 11, right? 1 + 1 equals 11 in one way of looking at it. And that means you have so much power in this partnership than if it just added up to 2. When 1 + 1, when you have two individually empowered beings coming together in partnership, then 1 + 1 equals 11. And then you can have 11, 11, and then you can network with 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11. And that is when the map changes, not just for you, but for the entire damn universe. Once everyone else gets to their 11, right? Once everyone else gets to their 11. So I'm going to leave you guys there, sending you so much love and light, and I will talk to you later. Bye.